Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and of YouTube. Welcome back to Final Fantasy Chronicles of Eno. I am your host and game master, Skadramas, otherwise known as Tone Shift. And with me today, we have our mostly full cast of players. We have Hades Shadow 92 playing Thanatos, our male human Dark Knight, who will also be controlling the dice rolls for an NPC party member, Kyra Nightstar, a female human Dragoon.
Hi.
We have Darkness playing Alicer, our male human paladin.
Hello there.
And last but certainly not least, we have Tom117Z playing Neothil, our female Elvon ranger.
Indeed. Listen here, you little shit trying to interrupt me as my intro.
We'll use the power of friendship.
Well, when it comes to me and Mika, it's beyond that at this point, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all we need to do now is just to piss off me so she'll blast the next enemy through the mountain again.
And speaking
Yeah,
of
me, though, that next enemy's going to be you.
and speaking of Mika, that is the NPC party member female Mithra Red Mage and is my responsibility. So, where we last left off, our intrepid band of adventurers took about a week off after a brutal and near-death experience facing off with the elemental archfiend of ice, Skothenmel, far to the north in the Eno Watch Mountains. They spent 7 days approximately in the city of Vatea, or the capital of the Vatean Empire, Vatea itself, where mostly it was just because Ni was waiting for Panara to work her magic and enchant the ring she intended to use to propose to Mika Solwyn with the desired properties. And in that week, it was mostly just a lot of fun downtime. Neothil creeped the fuck out of Thanatos by acting girly instead of boyish for a change. Ni took Mika to the local archives and gave her access to the restricted section for all of the at least low-level classified ranger documents so that she could just pour her nose into stuff. Kyra and Thanatos went for whiskey. Alicer did something, I don't really remember what.
He wrote a letter home, if I recall.
Oh yeah, it was really fucking long, too. Because the guy's always been a wordy motherfucker.
Indeed.
But alas, all good things must come to an end, and the same was true of their downtime in Vatea. Knowing that they still had work to do farther off across Eno, they picked up the ring that Panara had enchanted, got back aboard the repaired Little Wing, and set off for the Academy City of Anomo, where they are given to understand they can learn the location of the glacier that houses Shiva's next ice crystal for their retrieval. On the way, however, Neothil, having been given a bit more perspective on things after her near-death experience, took it upon herself to finally pop the question to Mika Solwyn in this truly beautiful and heartwarming display with the clouds all spread out beneath the Little Wing, the whole of the untouched heavens to themselves, a picnic, and a book with the enchanted ring in it. The party's first Tier 8 item, capable of allowing one who wears it, if they were to be killed, to cheat death without any of the requisite destiny cost. And indeed, Mika accepted the ring and said yes to the proposal, which is where we left off last time. And so, we shall come back in pretty much right where we left off, with Ni and Mika on the top deck of the Little Wing, immediately following Mika's agreement, still wrapped up in one another's arms.
It's almost one of those scenes I wish I'd continued, because now I need to try and pick up where I left off.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was like half asleep last time, so.
Yeah, so... Yes. Oh! Glad I managed to do that. That's been in the works for a while.
Really? How long?
Well, do you remember back with the manga where I wanted to speak with Mr. Itatakan about something secretive.
Yeah?
Taps the stone.
Oh. But wait, hold on. That would mean you were planning this well before then. You just didn't have what you needed.
Yes, well, technically I bought the ring right after I gained, the flappy flaps on my back.
The fuck? You mean your wings?
That's the one.
Flappy flaps?
That'd make you laugh.
Never change. You hear me?
I could say about you, Mistress Little Book Person. You. Shush.
Eloquent.
Hey, I just pulled off a really big, epic proposal, so give me a break.
But we're engaged now. I don't get to give you a break.
I hadn't considered that. Damn.
When did you start planning this?
To be honest, it was... Well... Like, not right after everything with Emma, my father, me...
That's
Your
quite a
mother?
ways. That's quite a ways
Just-
back.
It was when I entertained the idea, and, with the whole life and death situation, I kind of realized that... I mean... If we're to have a future after this, I know where that lies. So... Why let the chance slip by?
Right.
And I'm very glad he said yes, because otherwise Thanatos never would have let me live it down.
I mean, he's never gonna let this go anyway.
Yeah, but this is a happy sort of... Don't let it go, I will throw him over the edge of the ship gently. I want you.
What? The fuck he just say?
I think it was like, I warn you. I haunt you. Oh, I haunt you. Okay.
I thought he said, I want you, which is why I was so confused.
Mistranslation via literal whispers, if I don't know Chinese. Anyway. Still, I think the book was the nice touch.
Yeah, no kidding. Nice bit of sentiment there.
Your face almost would have made the entire thing worth it, no matter the answer. But really, you made me... Wow. I can't even really describe it.
Then don't try.
Wow, you've seen how eloquent I am, so...
I mean, besides that, you don't need to say it. I think I already know.
So do I. So,
Right,
are we
sandwiches!
gonna let this... Yeah, and wine and everything else. We're gonna let that fester while we have our head literally above the clouds.
Sorry, my brain's all over the place.
She just reaches in and pulls out the one of the sandwiches and just immediately. She's kind of scramble egg brained right now.
Pours her a glass of wine and gives it. I think this helped when we were in Anomo last time.
Yeah, no kidding, I remember that. Smooth moves, by the way.
I have my moments between the, dull-headedness.
go on, pour yourself one.
Where do you?
And once you sort of get yourself a glass of wine
Future.
poured up.
Yeah.
So you said to the future,
Yeah.
and Mika lifts up her glass in turn.
And us.
Clink.
Right? So you do sort of take down the first bits of it, and for the moment, Mika seems content to just kind of sit there with you, clouds rolling by with sandwich in one hand, wine in the other, the book still open on the first page, pages kind of fluttering a bit in the wind. She seems content with the quiet for the moment. Just kind of basking in the moment.
Me lets it pass for a while, just content with her company. For a little while, anyway. Because I have something else I want her to mention. It's funny.
Oh boy. I'll go on then.
See, it's been a little while. I've been enjoying. I imagine Eel has mostly been finished. So.
Yeah.
So. Enjoy.
Very much so.
You know, my mother was in on it. She was the one who enchanted the ring. Spent the whole week doing it.
Wait, which one?
The one with the magic to enchant.
Right, fair enough. Look, I don't really know your Elvon mother very well, so I don't really know what she's capable of.
She's the one who taught us how to wield a bow. Really good at it too.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was practicing when we first showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you startled her, and then she crushed your rib cage.
But that's not related. She does that anyway. That's besides the point. They do know as well. I let them in on the secret a while back. My sisters too. They were all kind of. And Elsa and Rocket and Kyra don't know. But Thanatos might. In fact, I kind of promised him to be the best man. He tried to play it off cool, but I could tell he was actually pretty pleased with himself for that.
We pitch him a lot of shit, but yeah, I don't think I can think of anyone else fit for that role.
I'm also trying to get Rania to be one of the flower girls, because Rania in dress must see.
What about Rocket? When we get her back, do we want her to have a role in any of this? Like,
the moment you said that, I almost pictured her as the pastor. Officiating it. That would be us, wouldn't it? Though I don't think she has the official capacity for it.
I mean, I was imagining Rocket as the flower girl, personally.
Oh, that would be adorable.
We can bring it up with her whenever we meet her again.
Well, we'll be engaged 5 minutes. I'm already doing wedding planning.
I mean, might as well. There is a chance that we might, lose. So.
You're kidding, right? We're getting married. I don't care if I have to move the damn heavens with these crystals we're carrying.
I'm just saying. Probably a good idea to get at least the basics figured out while things are relatively calm. I get the impression it's not gonna last.
I know. That's why... Well, I had entertained the idea of doing this when we got to the Tower of Creation, because who has ever done a proposal in the Tower of Creation? But, given our track record, it's probably going to be exploding and on fire.
I kind of feel envious of the rest of the world down there, or anything that spends its time up here. Because, for the vast majority of the world, they're not really fully in the know about what's going on. Like, for most of the world, it's still business as usual. Sure, the Amber Demons are getting more uppity than usual, but that's happened many times over our history. between the Amber
Ignorance.
Coasts and original arrival and whatnot.
Ignorance is bliss. So as more time goes, more people are learning.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the whole
Wow.
world knew when Marasu sunk, but
Still. Well,
if we
we
can
keep
get
going as
all of
we
this,
are.
if we can finish this before they all have to wind up getting dragged into it, that would be for the best. But somehow I don't think we're gonna get that luxury.
We'll minimize as much as we can. But for now, this is a happy occasion, so... if speaking of wedding preparations... Flower Girl, Rocket, Bridesmaid Flower Girl, Rani Escalala, Best Man... Thanatos, where would we even hold this thing? I mean, there's Anomo, there's Vitae, there's... somewhere.
I don't know.
Pretty sure the Elvan mother would insist Vitae, but she'd be happy no matter where we decided.
And what about Panara?
I think she'd be happy just to be part of it, to be honest. Haven't been not for so long.
Honestly,
Oh, wait.
for some reason, I could see her officiating things.
Maybe. What about you folks? How are they going to react when they find out that her daughter got hitched to a rather knave of an Elvan?
I have no idea!
That's going to be an interesting conversation. Is your dad going to kill me? Because I need to be forewarned about that.
I mean, you've met him.
Yes, and... Oh, to be fair, they were also aware of the plans beforehand as well.
She kind of gives you this flat look.
You what?
I was planning to ask you to marry me. When I met them before, it was a case of asking permission, I guess, you know.
Ah, right. Okay, that makes sense.
They kind of gave me the worthiness they be to our daughter and look after her speech. I like them.
They're good people. I'm glad we saved them.
So am I. The next time we're swinging around the aisles, we'll pop in and give them the good news.
We damn well better.
For now, well, your school awaits.
Yep.
How's it feel to be going back to the academy, even if we're not staying?
Feels nice and all, but... well,
But
just a stepping stone at the moment.
well, you yourself said back when you learn better practically.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, if I hadn't met all of you, I probably would have done better there.
Oh, so it's all our fault. I see how it is.
Hey, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, you know, I was kind of an introvert before you bundled into my life. Then,
And
you
I
know,
was...
then suddenly you took me on that date, and then you left.
You make me sound like an absolutely awful person, you know that.
I'm allowed to do that.
She reaches over and kind of pulls you into a noogie.
Besides, tell me I'm wrong.
Instead, I will just boop you, boops. That is punishment for the noogie.
She pouts at you and then shakes her head.
Bottom line is, I had been close with a lot of people before then. Not as many as I would like, alas. But I was confident all of them would be safe, you know? Your mom and dad were in the heart of Marasu, and that place was saved. Tom could take care of himself because, you know, he's such a badass white mage. But you were all constantly throwing yourselves in danger. I traveled with you long enough to figure that one out myself.
When it wasn't finding us, anyway. Yeah.
That too. Bottom line is, I was just worried.
Well, what it's worth, I am very glad you decided to follow us to... Endlem.
I mean, when I heard you'd all been detained, how could I not?
Yeah, Thanatos once remarked that you would be kicking down the door screaming, "Where's my elf?" And I blew him off, and there you were, kicking down the door screaming, "Where's my elf?"
No, I was waiting in a lab saying, "There's my elf," when you came back in.
Yes, and you glomped me to the floor.
Was it to the floor?
Nearly. Caught ourselves. It's been a long time since, well, reading that first book together, then the date going slow.
You know, I said let's take it
Lifetime.
slow. You know, I said let's take it slow. It's been under a year and already we're hitched. Somehow I think I lost track of that statement somewhere along the way. Not that I'm
Well,
complaining.
When you live the life we are, time gets skewed.
Yeah.
Much longer than it is.
Yeah.
Well, when all this is done, and I have a ring of my own, kind of looks at her empty hand. Be nice to try a quiet life for a little while. Well, to be a ranger, but I imagine you'll be after your own library somewhere. Because,
At some
you
point.
know,
But when all of this is done and Diablos is stopped, I think the first thing I'm gonna want to do is look after the survivors of Marasu. See if we can rebuild somewhere.
and I'll be with you doing that. You know, as an official detachment from the Battalion Rangers as a sign of good faith to the Mikate Isles. You know, something like that.
Don't bring politics into this.
I am a ranger, politics will have to come into it.
Well, they can
Gotta
wait.
justify it. I'll mention that to the Sarge next time I see her. I would follow your orders, ma'am, but the fiance said it can wait, so sorry. She's scarier.
I'm not the one who summons demon wings.
Yeah, I suppose I do have that. Besides, if I don't outrank her by the end of this, I'm going to be pouty.
Well,
Well,
still got a long trip ahead of us.
let's just enjoy this moment for all the night and the stars around. This is our
Bees.
night. You had to say that. I was trying to be all romantic.
I mean, yeah.
Then she kind of leans over, puts her hands on your shoulders, and kind of pushes you down onto the deck.
But you've been plenty of that all night.
Oh. Buzz, buzz, buzz.
And she leans down and gives you a big old-fashioned kiss. And you two spend I believe, the remainder of the night in this just quiet little calm, I think.
Before the inevitable storm when the news breaks to the others in the morning.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking you just straight up, you just kind of like wrap yourselves up in the picnic blanket up there and just fall asleep on the deck.
Aye.
And so?
The Nika burrito returns.
Yeah, it does. The Nika burrito. Either way, the night passes without incident. The following morning comes, and as the rest of you come up onto the deck, you find me and Mika just sound asleep on the top deck, wrapped up in a picnic blanket with the basket just kind of tucked off to one side.
Oh no. Thanatos is the first one up the staircase.
As per usual.
He sees this. And as a smirk slowly creeps onto his face, he looks up to the heavens and thanks whatever god is closest. Pulling out his canteen, he uncorks it and stands right above them.
Oh no.
You have a death wish, my man.
And just slowly, and right before he just slowly tips it over,
Oh, you motherfucker.
he just softly proclaims, "Wakey, wakey, girls," and starts to pour water on the both of them.
How dare you?
Mika shoots straight up.
Thanatos!
Of course, it was you.
Did you have a nice night, girls?
Mika, book him.
Mika pulls out her book and slaps Thanatos across the face with it.
That works too.
Well, you said book him.
I kind of presume stop would be involved, but that also works. Excuse me. Takes the book from Mika and slaps him over the head with it as well.
Thanatos takes 2 points of damage.
Hands the book back. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
She did happen to say yes. We are engaged to be married. What of it?
And as he hears this, that grin returns. He picks both of them up and just hugs them both close. Oh, my girls are finally growing up.
You know, I would have appreciated the gesture if you hadn't said a word.
You know him. He means it in the most heartfelt way, and yet he can't help but make it snide.
Oh, would you have me any other way, girls?
Guess not.
I think at this... Hold on.
You see, it's all good.
And it's at this point that Alistair's coming up.
Yeah.
And you just see Thanatos hugging me and Mika.
Yeah. What's all the commotion? Did I miss something, or something wrong with Thanatos? Is he ill again?
He will be in a minute. Kara gently pries herself off. Thanks, though.
Hey.
I know you mean it in the most heartfelt way, as I said. You do first.
Right back at you, elf.
Stupid human.
Knife ears.
Round ears.
Tree hugger.
Mr. Ground Rat.
Mika just looks back and forth between you two and's like,
What?
And he just pets Mika on the head.
Hey, slap his hand away. That's mine.
I get it! I get the joke! I see what you did there! Hey, that's mine! Oh,
Taking it back.
That was a good one.
because the audience is not going to get that joke, that is a reference to a series of stories I wrote where there's this recurring line of, hey, that's mine, one character says whenever their love interest is like being hogged by someone else.
I saw the line during the transcript the other day. I didn't include it in the transcript because it was part of the cutting room floor, but yeah.
That was
I'd have to
great.
include it.
That was great.
Hey,
So
that's mine.
So, Alistair, these two are getting hitched.
Oh, no, that's what I bloody missed.
Well, we kind of kept it as a bit of a private thing, but thanks. Now, where's Kyra? She's gonna want to hear the news too. Get it out of the way. Whatever typical jab she'll have.
No, definitely.
She's probably down below decks doing push-ups right now. Her morning routine.
You know what? She's your little flame. You can tell her. Like, pat Thanatos on the cheek. Better hurry up. We're pulling ahead of you. Oh, he's blushing.
Also, who's steering this ship?
Oh shit.
She's fine. She's fine herself for a little while. I set the wheel. Speaking of, I should go check our course and make sure we haven't drifted in the wind. No issue.
You've drifted a little bit, but it's not too big of an issue.
Need to be sailing this ship.
Uh,
Tish.
you brought the ship full circle aboard the airship. Nice.
And now it will take off on its half bat, half bird wing.
The battle of the bird depends on her mood. When it's with Mika, it'd definitely be the bird.
But just think about it for a second. She's she's still happy about the engagement, yet she's still annoyed of Thanatos what he did this morning. So it's kind of a half and half right now.
Anyway.
No, she's
Anyway. Who's getting Kyra?
I think we volunteered
Yes.
ourselves, didn't we?
I guess Thanatos. So
Alright.
Happy, I choose you.
Alright. So, Thanatos. You are volunteered.
yes, and never use that again.
Thempy! You make your way below decks, and sure enough, you knock on the door to Kyra's room, and inside you hear go, come in! And she's doing push-ups this time. Or sit-ups, excuse me.
Need something? Ah, my abs.
Oh, we just had a very interesting little bit of news this morning.
Oh, really? What is it?
The elf and the cat are hitched.
She kind of flops onto her back and looks over at you.
Huh?
Mika, rings, engagement, wedding, eventually.
Oh. About damn time.
She stands up, kind of wiping some of the sweat off with a towel.
Oof. All right. Figured that would happen eventually.
Just when we finally got all the little bits and pieces together.
And Kyra strolls past you. And for the rest of you up top, Kyra comes up a second later, looks around. Her eyes land on you, Nee, and after a second, she just kind of gives you this smile and a thumbs up.
She just shakes her head while smiling and turns her attention back to the steering.
All right.
And now, onward.
Yep.
To the city of nerds.
Yeah. All right, well, as was stated before, the journey to get from Vitae to Anomo is about 2 weeks by airship.
We're already halfway there.
Yep. So, the remaining week of travel passes without incident. You pass over pretty much the entire... You're well over halfway over Komogo by the time the first day of travel has passed. It's around the time you're on your third or fourth day of travel that you're coming out over the shores, the eastern shores on the inside of the Grand Gateway Bay. Mount Lalafell in the distance. You fly a short ways further before you look down over the side of any of you who look down see that you're over this vast expanse of open grassland stretching for as far as the eye can see, kind of flat, kind of basic, the occasional rolling hills that rise up into these more rocky, jagged foothills closer to the base of the mountain. You are over the plains of Odin, where, as you understand it, Rocket had been bound when you parted ways. Looking down as the airship's flying, you can occasionally spot the tiny village pocketed around here and there. They're not frequent, but there's enough of them to indicate that there's some civilization here. Before long, however, you pass over the peaks of Mount Lalafell, and before long you're flying over the... Okay, recording started back up again. Don't know what the hell that was all about. I'm gonna investigate it more thoroughly after we're done with that session, but for the time being, it seems to be working fine again. So, as I was saying, it takes... After this next week of travel, before long, the Mage's Mountains rise up on the horizon. And remembering where the city is on that northernmost towering peak, you fly up the slopes, spotting from the air one or two familiar little landmarks from your original ascent, before finally the Academy City itself looms in front of you.
Alright, that's Tom's mic doing that.
Ah,
Is it?
apparently.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like, what noise are you hearing exactly?
Like a,
That's
it's
the
like you're
noise.
bumping your mic or something.
Like something's dragging against it.
Yeah. Or you're just.
I'm not doing anything, I'm just sitting still.
Sounds like
Give me a
it's
second.
rattling. Either way. So,
Just to disposition a bit, see if that helps.
you bring the little wing through the outer barrier, allowed to pass as you're recognized as a friendly vessel. And before long, you're waved in and brought into one of the dry docks at the top of the city's central university building. And indeed, it is there that you spot the Stargazer.
Ah,
And you take up one of the other positions not far off.
well, been a while.
Yeah, no kidding.
The city of nerds.
Huh.
And Kyra's sort of leaning against where the gangplank usually extends from, and she raises an eyebrow and sort of nods down.
Oh, hey, look at that. Someone's here to meet us.
Hmm?
Sort of, you look over the edge off towards the landing platform where people are currently working to get things tied down and the gangplank stretched out. And you see a tall, kind of elderly Elvon individual dressed in this sort of uptight, kind of fancy red outfit. Black pants, sort of thick, vaguely armor-plated boots, a sort of shoulder half-cape thing hanging down off of his left shoulder. And he has this sort of wrinkly, stern-looking face, sharply angled eyebrows, and it looks like there were once hints of blonde in his swept-back hair, but it's all turned silver with time.
Who is that?
Mika looks down at him and sort of shivers a bit.
Oh, that's the Arch-Red Mage. That's Various Morkheim.
Oh.
That's an out of character context. One of the one-shot players was like his nephew or son or something.
His son,
As well.
yeah. His son.
Yeah. And also, from what little dialogue I was told to program into this guy in the game, he's kind of an that douche.
Yeah. Yeah, Mika turns to look at everyone.
Sound thrilled about that.
Mika turns to look and is like,
He's not a bad guy. He's just very intense. Everyone, please mind your manners with him, okay?
Thanatos, you might want to hang back a moment then, because we all know how you are, Titan nobility.
Eh. Oh, you guys talked on.
I don't think you could, if you directly engage them, I don't think you could hide.
Eh.
and finally the gangplank is put into place and you are free to disembark.
You do so.
So you all make your way down from the gangplank. And real quick, Alistair, since you've studied in the Academy City yourself, I'll go ahead and give you a basic rundown on Various real quick. He is the head history teacher and librarian, so he manages all of the archives and all of the knowledge in the Academy City. You know that he is very strict with his rules and policies in any of the libraries he happens to be presiding over at the time. He's very stern, and he is also very firm in how he enforces these rules. You know that he values being, very proper, keeping your dignity intact. He very much has high social standards. He likes his etiquette. And he's very blunt with those who breach it. That doesn't mean he's cold-hearted or dismissive, and he doesn't have a superiority complex. He's just intense.
Got it.
So just keep that. So Alistair knows all of that going in.
Yep.
He would. He studied here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you all descend down the plank, and he steps forward to meet you. I was wondering when you would all arrive.
We apologize for any delay. There was extensive recovery time from our recovery of the previous crystal.
I understand that, but a little bit of an advance notification would have gone a long way. He shakes his head and then holds out a hand. But pardon me, where are my manners? I am Various Morkheim. I am the arch-magi here at the Academy City.
I am Neophil, Ranger of Vitae. I believe you know Mika Solwyn and Alistair. That is Thanatos Shadowgrasp and Kyra Nightstar.
Indeed. I've heard of you. Alistair, Mika, good to see you two again.
Good to see you too, sir.
Come along. I wish to speak with all of you. And he turns with his hands folded behind his back and makes his way off of the landing platform at a brisk but manageable pace.
Can I follow, please?
As you're walking, Kyra sort of leans over to you, Alice, and is like,
So, are we in trouble or something?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I don't recall we've done anything bad so far.
Wouldn't there be a
Unless
lot
they
more
heard of-
yelling if we were in trouble?
Unless they heard of Thanatos' shenanigans, then we may be.
I haven't done anything! I highly doubt of being called to the principal's office for scolding. We're not naughty school children, we're a group of adventurers trying to stop an evil god.
I don't have to write an essay of how sorry I am, don't I?
As tempting as that might be.
That's not
Jokes
really
aside-
that's not really Various's style. If you do something to piss him off, he's not going to have you write an essay on how sorry you are. He's going to break your back, making you prove it. By giving you all kinds of extra tasks.
Did you get on his bad side when you were here, Mika? Because that sounds like experience.
Once.
Me just raises an eyebrow.
I got a little too nosy in one of his libraries and,
Aw, little Mika Solon,
Shut up.
troublemaker.
Shut up.
she smacks you on the back of the head.
Incidentally, his only lines in the video game so far are "Stop nosing around my library" and complaining about Lucas, the disgraceful red mage.
So I weren't the only one that crossed paths and unintentionally made him angry.
Still love the fact that Lucas is canon only to the video game version of things.
Yeah. And he looks at Alistair. To be fair, judging by what we got from Master Matoya, I think you disgruntling your teachers is a theme.
Matoya wasn't in the campaign either. She's also video game exclusive.
But wasn't it canon though that he did teach under Matoya? I swear we met Matoya. Just briefly.
Not in the campaign, no. I added her to the video game. We can retroactively say that yes, Matoya was one of Alistair's teachers, but in the actual campaign, you guys never met her.
Oh,
Because she's in charge of a side quest.
Let's just keep that being a thing because it is amusing.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Anyways, Various leads you all through some halls and corridors through the central university before eventually you come into this sizable and very lavish sort of office space. There's a very large, very nicely decorated and ornate desk in the center of the room at the heart of this circular sort of reddish colored rug. There are a bunch of bookcases all along the walls with these glass panes keeping people from just reaching in and plucking a book, and the magically affiliated with you can just sense that they're already loaded with wards to keep the undesired from reaching in. They're a collection of strange knickknacks and little oddities and what look like these old artifacts or historical trinkets, either scattered along other shelves or even on his desk. They're a collection of chairs around the front of the desk, along with his chair directly behind it, a stack of papers, and a collection of various different quills and ink. And he sits down across from you. Please, sit.
Okay, accept the invitation and sit.
All right. Once you're all seated, the door closed, he leans forward and sort of steeples his hands together in front of him and just... As I mentioned on the docks, an advance notification that you would have taken so long to get here would have been very welcome.
You have my apologies for the oversight.
If you needed to recover, I understand that. But as matters stand, a group of individuals recently, almost a month ago, rather, uncovered the location of Shiva's glacier. And they did so under the impression you would be along shortly. Alas, as it is, we were mistaken on that front, and the glacier has been stationary and vulnerable the entire time. My son was on that expedition, I should point out.
What did they find there?
They found the glacier to be of a modest size, large enough for one to walk for several hours to reach the other side from one end of it. They discovered at its center a large pyramid made of ice with winding natural tunnels, with strange puzzles that I personally don't understand riddled throughout. As it is, most of the airships we sent to locate this glacier did not return. Because as it is, it seems our enemy located the glacier before we did, and they had sent a scout, in the form of a frost behemoth.
Behemoth?
Ooh.
An amber corrupted one at that, according to my son's report. He used
Makes
it.
sense.
He used an incredible amount of power to bring the airships that were scouting the region out down. You know how behemoths are capable of summoning meteors, yes?
We're familiar.
This one could do something very similar, except it summoned practical miniature glaciers instead of meteors. The effect was the same, however. Basically, all of the airships that drew too close to that floating chunk of ice were knocked out of the sky, and the majority of their inhabitants killed. As it is, the only reason my son and his company made it back in the time they did is because they were chaperoned back by Leviathan herself.
Leviathan? Was it an Eidolon or...
That I do not know. All I know is that, according to my son's report, they crossed paths with a wolf named Fenrir, who was able to call out to Leviathan at the shore, and by her suggestion, the glacier now stands still where they found it, waiting for you.
Again, you have my apologies. We took that week to recover, and there was a 3-week journey after that.
I understand. Just try to be
As
a
it
bit more
is.
mindful of those who are waiting for you next time.
As it is, has there been any more activity on the glacier since then during our journey?
Not that we can tell. We've sent a couple of airships to keep tabs on the situation, but with so many that were destroyed, we're very weak in terms of our air force at present, and many of the airships that were in use were lent to us from our neighbors, namely Linsolum. They are understandably displeased that so much of the fleet they lent to us was eradicated by one beast.
Well, on the bright side, Saran may be grasping at straws to decide who to send to collect it. The 4 beings he designed exclusively to retrieve and destroy the crystals have all been slain.
That is good news, nevertheless.
Nevertheless,
I can't help but be concerned about this whole situation.
with so much time wasted, we won't stick around. We'll be departing soon as.
Very well.
The quicker we have that crystal in custody, which will account for both of the ice crystals, the sooner the danger to Anomo has passed.
I should point out, however, there is one development that's occurred since my son's group returned. One of the people that was with them, a Gulkan woman by the name of Katona, she has fallen ill. Terribly ill.
Ill with what?
We're not sure. She passed out only a few days after their return. Nothing we've done has been able to wake her. She tosses and turns in her sleep, mumbling to herself. Nothing we can do seems to be capable of rousing her from it. What's more, the mages who have been tasked to oversee her have reported an alarming amount of dark elemental energy radiating from her.
Is it amber infection?
We're not sure. It's possible. The stuff is criminally understudied due to the risks associated, so we have no way to be entirely sure. But I'm given to understand that you all have crossed paths with the substance more times than most, and have a stronger familiarity as a result.
I am somewhat attuned to amber. Thanatos is a dark knight, and we know someone else we can contact who is an expert on the stuff, comparatively to anyone in the firstly known continent, at any rate.
Very well. If nothing else, I would at least like to make sure we have this woman taken care of before you go settling out. We have people monitoring the island at present. Last reports indicated there wasn't any noteworthy movement, and Leviathan herself has remained in perimeter.
Makes sense.
It's well guarded for the moment, so we can spare a brief instant to make sure Katona is fine. With your know-how, I would like to ask you to look into it.
Did your group see the crystal for themselves?
They did not, but they were assured of its presence by Fenrir, and he then insisted that they head back here.
Katona, on the mission, did anything of note happen to her specifically that didn't occur to the others? Any source of her illness that you can think of?
Nothing that they reported to me. The only thing I can think of is that at one point while they were fighting the behemoth, she demonstrated a staggering affinity for shadow elemental energy, being enveloped in it. Channeling it. But she seemed to...
Look, that's Thanatos. That sounds familiar. Oh yeah, I just remembered all Katona's classes. She's a dark knight. Which that sounds very familiar.
Channeling it in ways that infused her own abilities with the element of shadow, you say?
That is what I was reported, yes.
Sounds like what you do.
Yes.
Bear in mind, sir, that Thanatos here is Firstly known as first, and as we know, only Dark Knight.
I'm not familiar with the term.
Thus, why he's the first.
We
Go ahead.
I was trained to channel my inner darkness to further increase my own abilities, spells, weapons, attacks, and the like.
Problem is, if uncontrolled, it can produce a dark side, which we have seen with a few other individuals.
Who taught you?
And it could... That's
Well, that's a long story. He just kind of... Caius.
The cloak around your shoulders flutters for a second before flows, and Caius appears next to you. And Varius does not seem taken aback or concerned by this at all. He just raises an eyebrow. Well, that's interesting.
Caius, could this woman have abilities like ours?
It's possible. I may have coined the name Dark Knight, but individuals like us have existed for a long time, as I've said. Most simply gave into madness, and their dark sides manifested in different ways, such as Elizabeth's transformation into that chain angel being a manifestation of hers. And my appearance being your manifestation.
So could we maybe help her with hers?
If she's having trouble with it. The thing is, when I was in conflict with you, you didn't become ill.
You just said that it manifests in different ways. Because...
Which
Could it
limits my understanding of how it works in others. The universal principles are the same, and I can infer much. But there's only so much I can know when I'm only one piece of a very large puzzle.
And perhaps we should ask the woman herself.
It was said that she was unconscious, so...
Is there any way to bring her around? Or is she...
We have tried. So far, nothing has worked. She's been in slumber for weeks.
Then we'll have to deal with a cursory examination. Mika, Thanatos, I think this one's going to be on you.
I can
Alright.
certainly try. I can certainly try.
Alyssa has dealt in healing magic as well, so it would be a good idea to send him too.
Might as well all go at this point.
Wow. I'm not exactly trained in medicine, but...
I should warn you one other thing about Katona before you go to do your investigation.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier that she is a Galka, but that does not do justice to her true size.
So she's big.
She's 12 feet tall.
Oh.
Kyra raises a hand.
I'm sorry, what?
Varius just kind of pops a small smirk at that reaction before leaning back. She has a rare condition that some Galka can have. Gigantism, it's called. It leads to them growing far larger than they usually would.
That's twice as big as a normal person.
That it is. It's a very rare condition, and most of the time it would lead to a premature death due to such rapid acceleration being impossible to keep up with in terms of sustenance. They would need to eat significantly more food than can be supplied to sustain that kind of growth. So most individuals who have the condition perish. But with the advent of modern white magic capabilities, some who have it can be kept alive until they're full grown. They still need to eat far more than others, but they manage. Katona, I can only assume, is one such example of an individual who got the help she needed at a young age to survive. But it does mean that working with her in the usual facilities is basically impossible. We had to practically make a bed to put her on from scratch. So just be aware of that going in. This is not a small person.
Noted.
I just didn't want any of you to get confused.
Fortunately, I think we've dealt with weirder.
Probably.
Alright, let's go play doctor, I guess.
Also, I should point out one more thing before you go. I notified Kelgor that you were on the way when you were pulling in, so...
That means Athene,
Probably.
Wait, what's it? Did she return? Last we saw Athena, she was still in Volia.
To my understanding, yes, Athena is in the Academy City right now, along with a number of other people who arrived aboard the Stargazer.
Looks like Sid went and got everybody.
Wonder thanks to Fane. Oh, let's get to it then. As you said, wasted enough time.
Alright. So with all that said, Avarius permits you to exit the office while he remains behind, presumably to do some paperwork, write some notes or something.
Teachery stuff.
Yeah, and Mika or Alistair can lead the way to the infirmary just fine.
Don't mind either way, we probably just both walk there.
Alright. So Mika and Alistair, the two of you, lead the way through the halls, and occasionally you pass other students as they're passing. Some of them actually seem to recognize Mika as you're passing and give her little nods or wave hi, but don't actually approach, considering the scale of the group traveling with her.
You would think we were intimidating.
And none of the rest actually seem to give much of a glance at Alistair. It would seem that it's been long enough since you graduated that the students who are here now don't know about you.
Richie doesn't mind, he's just looking around with nostalgia.
Yeah.
And even got a smile on his face.
Eventually, you and Mika bring the group into the White Mage Ward, which contains the infirmaries. And before long, after asking around for a brief second, you are shown into a special cases ward, and as you're led into the room, it has a very high vaulted ceiling. Off to the left and right, you see rows of beds up against the walls, and some there are people with these magic barriers sort of erected around them, or privacy screens set up to keep people contained within and maintain their privacy while the white mages and doctors do their work. There aren't very many people here. Only a couple, and they seem to be mostly just cases that have some sort of severe injury, probably from a magic training accident. You see one guy who, like, his entire right arm is just covered in horrible burns, and he's unconscious on his bed with some kind of mask over his face, while a white mage is seated next to him, a look of concentration on their face as they're healing his wounds.
Some kid with glasses whose arm looks like doesn't have any bones in it.
Yeah.
There's hardly any
Avocados from Mexico. Anyway. So you travel a little ways deeper into the ward, and you can see that there's this section that's been completely curtained off in the very back. And Mika raises an eyebrow, and Alistair, you recognize that that section isn't usually curtained off like that.
Someone next to their privacy?
Seems so.
Alright, let's see what we're dealing with.
That's something to worry about for later. We got a patient to deal with.
So you step forward, and since Thanatos spoke first on it, Thanatos walks forward and pulls the curtain back a little bit so you can pass through, and you see, sure enough, as Varius said, this large makeshift version of a bed with a bunch of blankets spread out on it just to provide padding. And resting on top, sure enough, is a 12-foot tall woman, currently not wearing anything particularly extravagant, just a simple tunic and pants to just keep her covered. But she's lying on the bed, red-skinned, very sharp angled features, eyes closed in this wild, untamed mess of black hair coming out of her head, some of it covering her face. brow is twitching occasionally, and you look past her and you see leaned up against the wall off to the side a humongous battle axe and a suit of jagged armor that's sort of piled together and gently polished and cleaned off, but kept out of the way.
I like her style.
Well, if she is a dark knight, so to speak, of course you would.
He just kind of walks up to the side of the bed.
Second
Feel
pass.
anything?
Second
Feel
passes
anything,
before
guys?
Caius appears next to you. This woman does indeed have a dark side. It feels underdeveloped compared to Elizabeth's, less distinct. Either it's in its early stages or she asserted dominance over it very early. Either way, she is what I would call a dark knight.
Mayhap she dominated it there on the glacier?
Maybe. Hard to tell.
Or maybe it manifested on the glacier.
I somehow doubt that. It doesn't feel that underdeveloped.
If she dominated it, then why is she lying in bed like this?
I don't
Ah.
know.
Possibly from the stress, trying to dominate a dark side along with fighting a frost behemoth.
Isn't it more likely that she's bedridden from the struggle within her?
Possibly. Thing was amber infused, so maybe it was giving off dark energy anyway. We absorb darkness into ourselves. Maybe she has the same ability, only she absorbed too much at once.
Hard to say. With her unconscious, there's precious little we can do to gather information.
Would have been nice to know her backstory.
Would have
Would have
been.
worked with.
And Caius looks to
Usually dark-
Alistair. Well, are you gonna do the medicine thing, or not?
Sorry, I'm just still studying. I will do my best. I've never worked with a patient like this before, but hey, first time the charm.
Hey, I got an idea.
Hmm?
Alistair, you've got that thing that Vise taught you, don't?
Hmm.
The looking into people's souls and whatnot.
Hmm.
That is true.
Theoretically, I could.
When you used it on me, it brought out Emma. If there is some sort of struggle inside of her, well, it may have a similar effect.
I mean, it's one of the things I was thinking about at the back of my head, but
Get closer to your mic.
okay. You know what? Hang on, I'm gonna turn it up. Let's see. Volume. How's that?
A little better.
A little bit more then. That should be okay. Okay. Sorry, I keep it low down so you don't hear it downstairs. But anyway. Now, theoretically, I could, and I have been thinking about it at the back of my head. However, I'm not sure what the outcome would be, since...
That's true. We also have to understand the danger of it.
Hmm.
Dark sides can be quite nasty, as we've seen.
Yes. Which I wish not to put her through any more distress, especially whatever's wrong with her might try to lash at me. It would cause her further pain. But I shall keep that in mind. I shall see what else I could do and use that as my last resort. Just in case.
Alright. So how then do you wish to proceed?
Well, let's start off with the basics. Let's see if Persona does anything.
All right.
Poison.
Go ahead. Cast Poisona. So you lift your hands up and you go through the motions, you go through the incantation, and the faintly green light shimmers over Katona's body, but it doesn't seem to have any effect. She remains steadfastly unconscious.
That did seem a bit too simple.
Persona's
And
out.
you would think that's what the white mages would start with.
Yeah.
They'd start
That's
with
best to
Esena if they had anyone who knew it, which they probably do. It's one of the more popular spells.
Mm.
Hey, I think the soul searching is probably the best option. If any more conventional magic that can be thrown at her probably already has been. The arch-white mage is here.
So healing probably would not work. So I have no choice but to try it then, it seems.
You remember how to do it?
Yep.
It's been a while since you've had to.
Yes. Which is a handy skill to have, although I have always been a bit nervous using it.
Ah,
I feel quite a few things using it. Ugh. Especially that one moment. But anyway, let's begin.
All right, so you take a second to think back on how V's taught you how to do this, sort of making sure you remember it right. Sort of crack your knuckles a little bit, and after a second you start channeling your rudimentary understanding of green magic, what very little you know. Gently put your hands on Katona's shoulder and wrist, and a second later close your eyes and gently push your way in to sort of make the invitation for that link. And as before, you feel your insides sort of expanding, so to speak, as if you're suddenly more spacious inside as the two souls sort of link up. And it's strange. There is no delay when you do this. Normally there would be a brief delay as the party on the other side, the individual you were reaching out to, sort of instinctively sort of withdrew in, natural reflexive resistance before relaxing and letting in what they knew to be a friendly guest. Here, there is no such response. It's like the door is unlocked and there is no one home. So pretty much immediately, the link occurs. And it's a very strange feeling. You can definitely tell, sort of similar from when you, did you ever link up with Thanatos?
No.
he linked up. Pretty sure he
I
only
linked
linked
up
up
with
with me.
me.
You
And
just
also-
face and knee.
I
And
also-
Elizabeth.
He also linked up with
Elizabeth.
He also linked up with Miko once, didn't he?
I
I recall.
I
Yeah,
don't
but yeah,
rec-
I think he linked up with Mika because Nee kind of threw hysterics over it.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
when I was
remember this.
testing it out that time.
Yeah, when he was still learning how to do it. Mika was like a suggested subject to use as an example. Anyway,
That was a freaky moment.
that it was.
I think the order was he did it on Mika, he did it on me, which is when Emma woke up, and
Yeah.
then he did it on Isabel. He hasn't done it since
Yeah.
because that was when he picked up the uninvited guest.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
once you make the connection with Katona, it's a very strange and different feeling because you can sort of pick out this bubble that you've joined up with that you know to be Katona. It's this very wild, very hectic feeling thing as compared to the others you've linked up with. It's almost feels like it's thrashing about. The best way you can think to as a comparison is like a lion that's been chained in place and is struggling against its bonds. You can also sense a growth, so to speak, on the side of this bubble. This, what you assume to be Katona's dark side, just kind of piggybacking on it, on her general soul. And that's not anything too surprising. Once you sort of get a feel for it, you can definitely tell that it's very primitive and rudimentary when compared to, say, Elizabeth's artificially enhanced one, where, like, Saran poured so much power into making it bigger, or Thanatos' one that naturally developed during his youth from an onslaught of negative emotions he couldn't possibly hope to control. This one doesn't feel as elaborate. It's still powerful, unquestionably so. You would say about on par with Caius, but not nearly as complicated. But the more you're thinking on it, the more you're looking and sort of feeling around, the more you're starting to sort of get the impression that there's something else here. You're not sure what, though. It's like strings? It's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Strings.
What do you do?
Well, at least there are no strings on me. Anyway.
I was thinking that, yes.
And okay. Oh!
Oh, Ultron.
Indeed,
You got it from Pinocchio. Anyway, so, what are you gonna do?
he did. Now then. Well, could I roll anything to try to figure out what this is?
You can roll lore magic.
Ah, that's handy. I got some of that. I try that and see if I can figure it out. Fingers crossed.
Eight.
8. Looking at it, this is still a very unusual experience for you, this green magic stuff, so you're definitely getting sensations, but you're not really sure how to parse it, how to make heads or tails of what it is. It kind of feels like there's a third presence here, almost. Maybe? It doesn't feel... It's not like the parasite that Saran had implanted into Elizabeth that then passed to you. It's something else. You don't know what. Whatever it is, it's buried deep. You can tell
Maybe
that.
follow the strings.
I have two options. Either try to figure out for myself or report back to the others about this.
I mean, I would at least try following the strings, see if you get a better picture of.
But then again,
would
I
be
don't know how long she may have, so I best venture onward.
Indeed.
Alright, so you're gonna try and follow the strings, so to speak?
They gotta lead somewhere.
Alright, so you eventually latch onto one of these abstracted strings, quote unquote, that seem to, the more you look at them, be coiling and binding, sort of wrapping around Katona and her dark side, and you start to follow one of them, wondering where it will lead. And it brings you closer and closer in and deeper in to Katona's essence. But the further you get, the more you start to feel actual resistance. And before long, it's getting to a point where it's pushing back against your consciousness with rather impressive force. I need you to make a finesse check.
I was gonna say, can I resist?
Yeah, you gotta
Yes,
make a finesse check to
finesse.
push through.
Finesse.
That then.
Get a good roll.
Let's have a look. I hope to get a good roll, much better than the other one, please. Finesse, finesse. There's finesse. Okay, that was right. Good. Come. Yes!
There we go.
Lucky for you, you are a particularly resilient individual, and you've dealt with strange, magical, mind-altering, and soul-based shit before, to the point where the resistance that presses against you doesn't have the raw fortitude you do, and before long you manage to push past it.
Oh, now. as much as you don't like this. I don't like it as much as you, but I have a patient to cure.
Right, so
Luckily, I had much more stubborn patients than this, so back off.
yeah, they're called Thanatos. Anyway, so, shut up, I was out of character. You didn't hear that. Anyway, so you follow the string, pushing past the resistance that continues to try and hold you at bay, but you keep pushing and you keep pushing, and eventually you come to what is now unmistakably a third presence in this balloon, in this bubble that is not your own. Something buried very, very, very deep. And the way the strings are set up, the way you followed them, are any indication, it's not like it's been there the whole time. This feels different. It feels newer. Like it was buried in there recently, like a seed in the dirt. And it's pulsing and throbbing and reacting to something.
What normality are you then? So I start to slowly and cautiously approach it.
All right. The pulsing from it seems to get more rapid the closer you get, as if it's responding to your proximity.
But Janusar is thinking in his head, he's not sure if this thing would understand if he tries to call out to it, so he's still trying to figure out what to do.
Just keep pushing. Just keep pushing.
Pretty much, he still keep walking towards it, but still figuring out at the back of his head what to do about it, and feels it's getting a bit tense around him.
Well, you bring your consciousness closer and closer to it, and eventually it suddenly lashes out, like a venomous snake snapping at something that dared to get too close when it was rattling its tail. And it slams against your consciousness, and the moment it does, your waking world eyes are assaulted by a cacophony of images that you don't have time to make heads or tails of, just glimpses of things that you barely have time to recognize. You see stretching and shredding sort of strips of flesh. You see what looks to be a thrashing body being mummified for a fraction of a second, wide, terrified eyes, an enormous grin filled with golden teeth, razor sharp, ready to bite down on flesh. You see what looks like an egg splitting open, as if it itself were a mouth and a shower of crimson coming out of it. And then after that, there's this horrible rattling sound in your head, like the earth splitting open and gargantuan chains grating against one another. And you hear this low, ominous, hungry growl. Before you suddenly snap back, pushed, forced immediately out of the vision you were just having. And the rest of you, in the waking world around for the last several minutes, Alistair has been quietly at work, occasionally muttering to himself. You've caught little glimpses of the words he's been saying here and there. What are you, strings, that kind of thing. And then suddenly his eyes snap open, as do Katona's for a brief second. There's this pulse of orange light and a shockwave that rips outwards, throwing everyone back a solid 15 feet into the surrounding walls, hard enough to knock the air from your lungs. The flowing energy continues for a second longer, filling the air with this horrible, high-pitched ringing sound, and you think somewhere buried deep within it, a monstrous roar. Before just as suddenly as the eruption came, it ends, leaving just a few faint wisps of orange sparkles in the air that fade, and leaving the rest of you to fall off of the walls, which now have dents in them from your impacts, and crumpling back to the floor.
Okay, that was Amber.
What the hell? Thanatos rushes over to Alistair. Alistair, look at me.
Fuck. Give me a moment.
What
What the hell
happened?
happened?
What he said.
Loud noises, golden teeth, war. There's definitely something wrong with her. Like, hang on. I need a breather. Oh, fuck.
Take a moment, then recount clearly everything you saw.
And it is worth
Okay.
noting, right now, everyone feels very ill. Like your stomachs are churning inside with revulsion at whatever just washed over you. Your skin's crawling. Even Thanatos, you're not feeling particularly great at the moment either.
That's no dark side.
No shit, that's no dark side. One moment I was following strings. The next moment I came across a weird anomaly within there. Like something not related to... I don't know, it's just...
Well, from
I
the
approached it, and it just lashed out like a fucking snake, and screamed and roared within my eardrums. And the next thing you know, I felt huge forces come across, and loads of flesh. I feel so shit.
What the hell is this?
well,
don't
from
know.
the amber
I
and the
think
way
that my
you describe
abilities are probably removing it on my own.
from that amber and the way you're describing it lashing out, it almost sounds like there's something inside of her.
Something that's trying to grow.
Alright.
I even like I think I also saw like an egg. Opening up.
Maybe
I did-
she's
So
the
if you
egg.
don't act,
Thanatos immediately turns to Mika. Mika, go and get that professor. I don't care what he says. I don't care what he's doing. Get him here now.
Right. The arch-magi would probably be a better pick, though.
Anybody who knows what happened over there. I want answers. What happened?
Right.
And she turns and goes running off.
everyone, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't. Am I the only one feeling like shit, like my insides are trying to
We
turn
all
inside
feel
out?
like shit.
Amber for you,
Oh, crap.
and I'm partially made of the stuff.
Okay. We just need to calm down and think. Okay.
Fine.
Something Amber is in this, which means she was exposed somehow.
Wow.
The
Here's the
behemoth.
thing, it feels like there's a third entity.
Well, the
Like there's something else, but I don't know what.
Was that Kaya saying that?
Yeah, that was Kaya's.
yes, the behemoth. That's why I need to know what happened to her in that fight. Was she injured? Was she infected? Was she bitten? Was she something?
There's other people we can ask. Her traveling companions, the one she was with. The Archmage's son.
Find one of them.
We don't know where they are at the moment. Stay calm. If we start getting hyperactive, we're not going to get anything done. Stay focused, Thanatos.
This thing is clearly was implanted in her, and there's no telling what it's doing. You saw what it did just while it was still in there. Who knows? What if it gets out?
Thanatos, I understand your worries, but Caius is right. We have to remain calm and collective. At
If
any
something
cost.
happens in the meantime, we'll handle it. But before then, the Archmage is coming. Let's see what they have to say.
Take a second and get your head
Will
together.
have a negative effects. Right now, let's focus on the here and now, and just wait, and also hope that whatever hit us back doesn't get worse.
A couple minutes
So I don't
pass.
think my persona would work.
A couple of minutes pass before you hear a set of feet coming running back. And the curtain gets pulled aside and Mika has returned and she has Various with her, but there's another man with her as well, and you can only assume that that is the head white mage, the arch-white mage. He's a tall, elven man with this far more gentler look about his features. And while Various looks to be about ready to jump into action, The white mage looks more distraught and concerned than anything else.
Thanatos immediately goes up to both professors. What happened? I want to know her injuries. I want to know what happened in that behemoth fight.
Various sort of gives you a look. Slow down and tell us what happened first.
Alistair went inside. He has an ability that allows him to inspect the souls of other people. When he did so, he confirmed that she is indeed a Dark Knight like Thanatos. He saw her ordinary self, an infant dark side within her, weak, not in control, and then a third presence, an amber creature that's nesting inside of her. It's almost like incubating within her.
Huh. That's strange. Let me see. And that's the white mage as he quickly moves past. As he passes, Alistair, you recognize him as Alarin Gennaro. And you spent a fair amount of time studying under him when you were gaining your abilities for white magic. He pauses briefly as he's striding past and looks at you. You're gonna have to tell me how you did that soul thing later. And then he keeps moving.
Another time, sir.
So he quickly moves past and gets by Katona, running his hands a little ways over the body with magic emanating.
You should be careful. When Alistair got close to it, it lashed out at all of us. And
He lifts
and I are particularly attuned to darkness, and that affected even us.
He lifts his other hand and a series of green magic triangles suddenly form a dome over the entire bed with just him and Katona within it, and you recognize it as a repurposed version of the shell spell. After a few seconds of looking at it, he stands up. There is something odd here that we hadn't noticed before. We didn't think to look at it. Or rather, we didn't think to look for it. By the time they showed up, they'd already tended to their injuries with magic. Various' son is a red mage. He had access to healing spells. They tended to their wounds on the way back from the northern shore. By the time they showed up, they had no injuries. We didn't think to examine them.
That behemoth, there's a chance it implanted something inside of her, and then the healing of their injuries covered the tracks.
They fought an amber-infested creature and you didn't bother to check?
We didn't have any reason at the time of their arrival to think anything was wrong. The city allowed them back in, and in case you forgot, it's not exactly flippant about that. If it had detected any immediate signs of corruption, it would have stopped them dead in their tracks. Whatever this is, it wasn't active until after they were in.
This isn't typical amber corruption. Amber corruption takes hold of its host and twists them, but this is an entirely different entity.
Indeed, it's more rampant and aggressive, like a wild animal.
When it lashed out, Alistair said he had visions of like a creature hatching from an egg. We think she's the egg.
Thanatos again.
He had like golden teeth and a horrifying war.
Thanatos again turns to the Red Mage Master. What happened?
I wasn't
Forgive
there.
Thanatos.
Well, get your son, get somebody who was.
What he means to say is that the party that accompanied him, particularly your son as the one who healed his wounds, her wounds, should have more information on exactly the extent of her injuries, where she was hit, what she was hit by. Any clue that may indicate when this was implanted in her and how.
If I may ask,
You kind of cut out. Alistair? Guys? Hello? Everyone cut out. What the hell happened?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Can you
Hi.
hear us?
I can now. Give me, what did I miss?
What was the last thing you heard?
I'm gonna change the region to
From us.
West real. I'm gonna
Us?
change the region to US West real quick. See if that helps. Okay, so the last thing I heard was Alistair getting ready to ask some kind of question when he got cut off mid-sentence.
That was
What was the thing before that? Because that doesn't narrow it down. He asked a few questions. Did you hear the part where we just asked to see the son, and the reasons being that he was the one who healed the injuries, thus would have a better idea?
yes, I heard that. I heard that part.
Yeah,
And then
the only
Alistair,
question-
and then Alistair went to ask another question and it got cut off midway.
he was just
Yeah.
asking was there anybody that was a healer there, and we already said that the son was a red mage who had white magic. So yeah. So again, son.
Right. 1 second, because I just sent a message to my brother because he was the player for that character. So if we can get him in here to do that, that would be great. If we're actually going to call on that character,
That's cool.
if possible.
impromptu, your brother just shows, "Hey, we're calling upon you." Sorry.
It's his character. Give me a
Things just
second.
got interesting.
I mean, I don't want to just throw it on him just randomly.
Is the best.
I mean, you can just take.
answers.
I mean, you
your
can just.
character's most
I mean, yeah.
interesting.
If I have to, I'll control the character myself. But if David can do it, that would be ideal because it was his character.
Darkness is trying to talk, and also Darkness people keep talking over you because you are still stupidly
God damn
quiet.
it. I don't know why. You know what? I'm going to turn it up to maximum. See if that does. Actually, hang on. There's one more thing I could do.
Stick close to your mouth.
I do have it close to my mouth, but if I have it any more in my mouth, it'd be literally in my mouth.
I don't you think it'd be a little awkward just to randomly drag him in here when he doesn't even know what's going on?
I gave him the quick rundown. We'll
What's he
see.
saying?
We'll see what he says. If he says no, then I'll just.
Wing it.
You
You should have realized that.
I was more worried about Katona than him.
I mean, why did you have us look at Katana if you were?
I figured I would have an excuse for everyone else to be absent, but the son doesn't really have one. He lives here.
Let's do a few sound checks. Sound check,
Yeah.
is that louder?
Marginally, yes.
But this one.
Much better, yes.
There we are.
I mean, again, it's gonna be just randomly dropping it on you. He may be busy.
That's why I'm asking if he wants to, if he's available. Again, I can wing it if he doesn't want it. We'll see what he says.
It's going to be a lot of editing in this episode.
Okay, he says I gotta do it.
Okay.
All right, so I'll take care of it. All right, so
Go
with
ahead.
that, all right, so Various glances over at what was the white mage's name again? Lauren. He looks over to Lauren. Keep that barrier up, he says before turning and heading off. A few minutes pass again before Various comes back, and in tow he has an individual that doesn't have the most striking resemblance to him you would have expected from a son. He looks more. His ears aren't nearly as pointed, his features aren't nearly as slender, he's not nearly as tall. He looks more like a human than an Elvon. He has the blonde hair, though, and the same eye color as he comes in. Yes, what seems to be the problem?
Well, your friend here is having problems.
Yes, so I've heard.
Thanatos immediately goes up to him. What happened with the behemoth?
During the fight, it wasn't an easy struggle, I'll tell you that. But thanks to our dragoon, it eventually went down thanks to poison, but during the fighting it damn near knocked us all down, and at one point Katona was knocked unconscious after it dropped its glacial meteor on us. After that, we were able to get her back up by way of a Phoenix Down, and she took it down herself. She called on some sort of power over shadow and chopped the bastard's head off with her axe.
She killed it herself.
She did, yes. Its body then decomposed, rotted away from poison that our Mughal Dragoon had stuck into it. After that, she lingered for a moment while the rest of us were tending to our wounds, came by a minute later, we healed her up, and then Fenrir escorted us out.
When she lingered, was she alone for a moment?
For a moment, yes. She'd been kind of aloof the entire time and not very talkative. We only started getting her to open up at all after we got back and went to eat at Puck's place.
Well,
This dark energy she used, have you ever seen her use it before?
We had only just met, so no. It was the first
Thing
time
is-
we'd all worked together, so...
her power comes from the fact that she is a Dark Knight, like my friend here. She uses shadow and something called a dark side, like a corrupted inner self that she controls and beats into submission. The thing is, beyond that, Alistair here detected a third entity, an amber creature that is nesting inside of her like an egg.
Think. Anything... Does she sustain any other type of injuries from this thing? A bite, a scratch, something?
Speaking of the behemoth, out of curiosity, what color are its teeth?
Its teeth weren't where the amber was growing. Most of the amber that we saw coming out of its body was from one of its eyebrows, right over its right eye.
Over the right eye.
Yes,
And she cut its head off.
and she did. It was quite nasty, I'll tell you that.
And out of curiosity, I know you say the body decomposed afterwards from the poison. Did you happen to get a glance at the right eye after its head went off?
I was more focused on getting everyone's wounds healed, and then we were rather distracted by the giant wolf that escorted us off the glacier. I didn't get much of a chance.
When she lingered, was she anywhere near where the head fell?
I think so.
You think it's possible she interacts with the amber?
I
She would.
don't know.
Can you... Has
Hey,
anyone
how would-
done a search of her things?
After she collapsed, yes. I believe so. It's usually customary to take inventory of what a patient has so it can all be returned.
Nothing unusual?
Not to my knowledge. But I wasn't put in charge of her treatment. Alarin pipes up. There wasn't anything of any particular note in her belongings. She just had her own things.
Thanatos goes over and takes a look at her axe. Does he notice anything about it?
Make an awareness check and tell me what particularly you're looking for.
Any traces of amber or anything other than just the usual dark side shit that he would normally detect?
Any sign of
Just
either Amber
anything
itself
out,
or Amber's power?
anything out of the ordinary.
Looking at it, for one thing, it's huge. And the blades have been tarnished over time with leftover stains, but it's clear that it's been cleaned since it arrived. So while it does have these darker globules and globs and little patches all along the blade and even the shaft, with all of its serrations and little spikes, you're not getting anything particularly amber related from your observation.
So, okay, walking back over to the others. Okay, so we just need to think about this. She cut the thing after she woke up. She flew into a rage and cut this thing's head off.
More or less, yes.
Is that after? So, and you say that she still wasn't very cognitive the whole time on the way back. Did she talk? Did she
She
exhibit any kind of
she
deal?
she complained that we were playing second fiddle to the lot of you. She wasn't exact. She was rather offended that we were told to leave the glacier and just make sure you all knew where to go. Honestly, we all felt kind of under-rewarded, but it's neither here nor there right now.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So there was an appropriate amount of complaining, but, well... Again, I'd only just met the woman when our airship went down. That was the first time I'd ever worked with her, so I don't really know a whole lot about her background. Where she's from, her origins, her history, what she's usually like. I just know that she was quiet and remarkably badass in a fight.
It just sounds like a typical Dark Knight, so... That moment where she was alone, right next to the head. Could something have gotten to her while she was still in that enraged kind of mindset?
My thoughts are either she interacted with the amber that was on the thing, or the creature, upon its death, somehow transferred some of itself into its killer.
Wait.
Hold on.
I imagine when she cut the thing's head off, she got quite a bit of blood on her, right?
Among other nasty things, yes.
Can we do it like a lord, see if like let Miko or whatever to do if there's any history or precedence for demonic creatures of amber, like attempting to possess or transferring something to its killer upon death, or like any kind of story, tale, even legend that is of relation to this.
With a 16, Mika turns to the rest of you.
There aren't many precedents for regular mortal corruption from the Amber to begin with. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head are from the old Vitaean emperors, that line that eventually led to the Empire splitting up, and more recent examples with, Elizabeth and Saran.
I think all those, well, Saran is just insane. Well, the others all dark sides, corruption, either dark sides or corruptions via amber, the person themselves. This is something else.
I don't have any... I don't think
Wait a
anything like
minute.
this has happened before.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yes?
Do you all... He turns to his friends. Do you all remember Marasu when they were trying to throw those barrels of body parts into the river?
Yeah, to spread the plague, right? That's what you all told us.
When they were... The plague came from an amber demon.
So,
What if
you're
the seat of the plague, which was the fused bodies of a husband, a wife, and their child, I recall.
So, what if this thing transferred its amber corruption through the transfer of, say, blood from having its head cut off?
I'm not so sure. The plague in Marasu was just that. It was a plague. It was a microbe. It was a literal disease. It was born from demonic origins, but it itself wasn't like... It seems different. Because she doesn't have a disease. She's not sick, per se, in that particular sense.
I think perhaps we need to turn our thinking out here. Also, maybe we can speculate all day on exactly how she contracted this creature, but I think only she can tell us that. So either we need to somehow allow her to regain consciousness enough so she can tell us herself, or we need to figure out a way to expunge it entirely. The hows can wait, because I don't think we're going to get anywhere with that.
Okay, so interacting with her soul isn't working because this thing is clearly too powerful and will just boot Alistair back out again.
At least by himself.
Can't blue mages look into people's dreams or any?
What?
Green
No.
Mage is just soul magic.
No. But like back when
Blue Mage is
back when
mostly
Nee had her thing.
changing
Okay,
the body.
shut up. Remember back in chapter 2 where Nee was having those dreams of Panara and she went to Kelgor to kind of get a trace of what was going on?
He didn't enter the dreams, he just traced the direction the amber was coming from. Because it was being transmitted.
How?
Well, she just... Whenever Nee was having those dreams, like, there was an amber signature from Panara using her amber powers to do so.
Yeah, to clarify what Kelgor was doing, since blue mages deal with monsters and wild creatures and arcane anomalies a lot more than the other varieties of mage, they would naturally be in a position to interact more with amber than other varieties of mage, and so they have more training in how to deal with it on a personal level safely. As such, that's why a blue mage is ideal for tracking where a spell rooted in amber is coming from, hence why it was suggested that Nee go to Kelgor in the first place to track where Panara's dream messages were coming from. That was a spell rooted in amber, and blue mages are the ones with the most training to deal with that. Now hold that thought for a second, because I just suddenly got hit by a bowel movement that I need to go take care of right now. It came out of nowhere. I'm sorry, I'll be right back.
Okay, so while he's gone, just could Kelgor come in here and tell us what the fuck this thing is?
I doubt he could tell us what it is. I mean, the thing is, like, again, he was able to trace Panara's location generally because there was a connection to trace. It was coming from outside, where this thing is inside of her. So, like, where is the demon? Oh, it's in her. Yeah, we know that.
Okay, we could just...
I think
when he gives us these stupid puzzles and we try literally everything and then it's literally just get no answers.
I think trying to figure out exactly where it came from right now with our unconscious is futile. What we need to do is kill it. Kill it dead.
And how do you suggest we do that?
Well, for one thing, when Alistair went inside via soul magic shenanigans by himself, he couldn't withstand it. My initial thoughts are either to attempt to bring the entire party into like the soul realm and like fight it boss style, or do an exorcism.
Oh yes, let's go to the library and get a nice little book on exorcism, and we'll just expel the demon.
Just figure out a way to.
Yeah,
Well,
I
Kelgor
rather
might
not
be a
do
top
that
of that.
in the place because that's going to cause quite the collateral damage,
I think
especially
it'll
with
cause more
civilians
collateral
nearby.
damage I think it'll cause more collateral damage if this thing hatches.
So,
I know, but we can't just, awaken it right here.
I mean, the point.
Yeah.
I was planning on awakening it. I was planning on either going inside and killing it inside of her, or just dragging it out and killing it without it maturing.
Like, how do you
Yes, if we
expect?
could do that.
I would say, can we ride on Alistair's spell? Because we can't all do
No.
it.
I mean,
Nara might have some insight to that with her Amber experience and soul stuff.
Panara is a month away.
Yeah, but
I mean, the way I
I can
understand,
contact her any time. I have the dream thing.
I mean, I know that basically is all about linking souls together, but multiple people at once. I haven't tried that, even if it is possible.
Well, that is an option to consider. Alternatively, if we want to try and snip it out, Kelgor might be able to help with that due to the fact that he has some Amber experience himself.
I just hope there's no negative effects for this, like either makes me go insane or something else should happen to any of you, like somehow body swap.
I mean, again,
Hopefully
Again,
not.
I want to bring Kelgor in here because he might, even if he doesn't know what this thing is, he knows more about Amber than all of these professors. So maybe he's like, oh yeah, she's infected, and this is how we can fix it. Or this is how we think we can fix it, or just yada 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 yada. We need people who actually know shit.
Okay, I am terribly sorry about that. If I'd held it in any longer, I would have shat myself.
There you go.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Also, alright, so
Also,
to just catch you up on our discussion, we're pretty much unanimous on the fact that trying to figure out where this thing came from is futile because we haven't got a fucking lead to follow. Aside from, oh, it was somewhere in the Behemoth, but nobody knows shit. Our only real thought is just focus more on tackling it, which our two initial thoughts were to either try and do almost an exorcism, try and snip it out of her, maybe with some guidance from Kelgor, since he does know some Amber stuff, or Andor Panara. Speaking of Andor Panara, the other thought we had was trying to re-enter the soul, but as a party. As you could do a link thing.
which I point out, even if that is a possibility, I don't think Alisai would be capable of doing that. He's at the
He's still
base.
very much a novice.
Yeah.
He's still very much a
Yeah,
novice.
and if he messes it up, who knows what would happen? He might swap bodies around or mess with the mind. Or
Yeah,
worse.
as it is, Alistair was not taught how to link multiple souls together. He can only link his to another person's. So
Exactly.
So unfortunately, going in as a party is
I'm not
doable.
risking it.
Yeah, Vise was very, very conservative in what she taught Alistair, because while she was trying to help heal Elizabeth out of a sense of gratitude for taking out Hades, she was still protecting her people's secrets. So she only told you what you needed to know to help Elizabeth, nothing more and nothing less.
Just as I thought.
So going
then
in as a
it's the
party isn't an option.
Then it's going to have to be the other thing of trying to snip it out, because aside from that, I'm not seeing any threads to follow.
All I know is, so far the ideas you have, if we even got in there, we could do damage to her by accident and worsen her condition, or we create collateral damage if we get it out of her in the actual place. Although we don't know how much time she has, so...
Alright, so Me's going to turn to the arch-mage and go, the only thing I can think of to do is to try and remove it. Archmage Kelgor is here, right? He has some experience with Amber.
Alara
He helped
nods.
me before.
Yes, he's in the Academy City right now with his apprentice Athena.
I think we like his opinion.
Somebody go get him.
I'll go consult him. For the time being, though, he looks between all of you with a very discerning eye and frowns. None of you look particularly well either. And I do need to remind you all still feel sick as shit.
Yeah, unless I still feels rough.
What else is new? No. I said, never mind us. Go get him.
I'm going to want a chance to look over each of you before anything proceeds too far.
No offense, Thanatos, but I think you should step out and just, listen to what they have to say. Because we can't do anything if anything should happen to us. You saw what it did to her. Well, briefly anyway.
So, Alarin steps out, and Various' son sort of walks over to Katona's bedside, sort of folding his hands behind his back, and... What in the world happened to you?
I was afraid something like this might happen.
Well, this is what happens when we go and try to save the world. We always
Sure.
get a little bit of icks and bumps along the way.
Kyra,
now-
Kyra raises a brow at you, Thanatos.
What do you mean?
I mean, sending people to these places where we know Saran is doing shit, like Skalala being kidnapped, a whole village of Bonga being destroyed, and then the Ixion Spire nearly putting Viola in danger, and just everywhere we go, the city, and then the Oasis, all those creatures that attacked. Everywhere we go, everybody gets hurt.
Thanatos,
Thanatos,
it's a worldwide
that w-
threat. We can't be everywhere. we need help, and they are aware of the consequences. The best we can
can't
do
pin
is
that
do
on
our
your-
part.
You can't pin that on yourself. Had we not been there, those things would have happened anyway, and far worse.
And we weren't here, and now this poor woman, who's no telling what's going on.
Hey, they're adventurers just like us. We're not the only ones that need to do something to save the world. They know, when they sign up to these things, they know the risks. All we can do is help her.
We're here now, and we're here to do something as best we can.
Right.
But you mustn't stress yourself over it, and you must stay calm and focus. Even Caius has told you that.
It was part of his training from the start to stay focused. Otherwise, if he had lost control of his emotions, he would have been taken over by the storm, remember?
Yeah, I get it.
But you managed to overcome it, Thanatos. And gained a new ally in the process.
Anyway, is he coming back with Kelgor?
He'll probably be back in a couple minutes. After a moment, the Various' son suddenly sort of perks up as if he's forgotten something. Oh, I'm so sorry. Where are my manners? I forgot to introduce myself. Various sort of gives him a sidelong glance. Yes, you did. I thought I taught you better than that. Oh, hush, old man. And the Arch-mage's son gives this sort of a exaggerated bow. Zandel Morkheim, at your service. I should probably be getting a move on and let the others know about Katona's condition. If there are any updates, let us know, or let my father know, alright?
We'll
Okay.
keep you informed, and pleasure to meet you. I'm Anasai.
Oh, I've heard about you. Mostly from Matoya whinging that you had a thick skull.
Yeah, you could say that.
Paladins. He then gives a little nod and steps out. A few minutes pass before their footsteps returning, and Alarin comes back in, followed closely by Kelgor and Athena. Athena's eyes immediately lock onto you, Alistair.
Oh dear.
I am prepared this time.
Interestingly enough, she doesn't actually tackle hug you.
Hmm.
She does quickly come up to you and give you a hug, but she seems like she's being a bit more considerate at the moment.
Okay, this is new even for you.
Hey, I already got blasted against the wall. I can be gentle.
True. I guess.
Kelgor nods to all of you as he
Master
enters.
Kelgor.
Oh,
He nods.
thanks.
Kelgor nods as he enters. It's been a long time since I've seen you all.
It has, and
Just wish it was
I
under
wish
better
it was under better
circumstances.
circumstances.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Jinx.
As it is, our patient here has an amber creature inside of her. We really need getting out before it, hatches into something monstrous.
Right. What do we know about it?
Well, we know it seems to have come from when they fought the Amber Behemoth on their mission to the glacier. There was a moment where, after she slew it, she was alone with its corpse as it decayed, before she rejoined the others and had her wounds healed. Soon after after returning, she came down ill, and Alistair went in using a bit of soul magic to examine what was going on in there. But he found a third party nesting within. When he got too close, it lashed out at him, released an amber pulse that knocked us all back, and gave him visions of a creature with amber yellow teeth tearing flesh hatching from an egg. We think she's the egg.
Well, that's spooky.
It's amber.
It's at this point that... Actually, Hades, real quick, for Kyra, if you could really quickly just make for me a A general 2d6 roll for Kyra, please.
Why?
Just do it. No, she doesn't remember it. Okay.
Remember.
Damn you. He's giving us. He's trying to give us a clue with the dice aren't letting us have it.
Yes. Well, I'm not exactly sure how we'd go about removing something like this. I've never seen anything like it. Hold on a second. Kilgore reaches into his jacket and pulls out the little box. You remember, Nee, the one that has the tiny inert piece of amber in it.
Yeah.
And he flicks it open, takes out the little stone, and holds it over Katona, sort of moving it up and down. Then eventually, as it hovers roughly over her chest, near where her heart is, it starts to glow faintly. Oh. Huh.
What?
Look. Something's reacting to my stone.
That would be the amber creature inside, I would imagine.
In her heart?
In her chest, at any rate. How the hell did it get in there?
Like, all we could tell from what happened was they got knocked out, they revived her, she flew into a rage, cut the thing's head off, and then the body decayed while she was standing by the head alone for a bit. And apparently the amber growing out of the beast was in one... was in the
Problem
eye
is-
of the thing.
No, none of her party members saw anything, and without hearing from the woman herself, we're at a loss of how to ascertain exactly how she was infected, so all we can do is try to contain the situation.
If there's something in her chest, which this would imply, Kilgore then stands up and looks over to Lauren, then it's not within my capacity to do anything about it. Probably yours, though. Right.
You're saying it's a physical something rather than a spiritual energy something.
Possibly. Hard to tell. Either way. This is unlike anything I've ever seen. I have no idea how to counter it.
Is there any way this thing could have infected her with amber, with, like, just its blood or something?
I don't know. This is all new territory. The demons have been getting more and more elaborate for the last year. It's hard to tell.
Always coming up with new tricks. Fucker.
At this point, Lauren pipes up. Regardless, in the event that it's a physical thing within her, it'll need to be removed physically, and that means surgery.
Problem is, the moment you try, it's probably going to try to lash out again.
Unquestionably. But I'd rather not let it just linger in her chest either. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Then I would suggest a secure location, all the wards you can muster, and us on hand ready to deal with it if it decides to try to eat someone.
Alarin gives you a more firm look. At the moment, what I would recommend for all of you is to just get some rest. Look at you.
Right. You said you were going to give us a checkup before we left?
Right, yeah, I mean to do that. You too, Mika. How are you holding up?
I'm alright, sir.
Good. Do you need a new journal? Is it getting too full?
No, I've still got plenty of room.
Good. Alright. Alright, come on. Let's get you all checked up, and then I think we should probably have you stay here overnight, just to be sure. In the event that anything spread to you from that pulse, we'll want to contain it and deal with it quickly.
Right.
Come on. He then looks over to Various. Various, do you mind coordinating with the already on it? And Various is stepping out of the curtained off area. Alright, so you're all taken to not far away to some of the nearby beds. You're told to sit down, sort of shrug off some of your armor just so that he can perform a physical examination. He runs some spells over everyone. It takes a little bit, and it's a mostly clinical procedure. Though, as he's passing by you, Nee, he sort of briefly pauses while he's listening to your heartbeat. You know, Mika talks about you a lot.
Does she now?
In the book, yeah.
Um,
A big part of
that
why
would
she
be-
just...
Okay.
Whenever
He was saying?
Yeah, he was about to say, pretty much whenever class wasn't in session, she'd be talking about you or your friends.
Well, a lot's happened since then.
She's kept me
I mean-
largely up to speed.
I doubt she mentioned the part where we got engaged last week.
She did, actually. She filled an entire page with gushings about it.
Kind of glanced over at Miko's shit-eating grin. Did you now?
Mika just kind of flushes a bit and looks away.
I think I quite like to read those.
Bottom line is, I just want to say thanks. She's one of my finest students. Probably the finest now that I'm thinking about it. I'm glad to know she's in good hands.
I think I should be the one thanking you for letting her go.
I've never been one to hold my students back from their full potential. Now, hold still, and he taps your knee with the hammer thing. Yeah.
I will
Me.
warn you ahead of time on the magic thing. I don't know whether she's mentioned the part where I have two cells.
She has. She asked me for my advice numerous times during that event.
Just making sure.
It is safe to say that I am very well caught up on your adventures. Played a pretty big background element, honestly, giving Mika advice. And teaching her the spells she keeps learning. Alright. After a few minutes of going through the various items on a regular physical checkup and a few points on a magical checkup list, it doesn't look like you have any amber infections in you. I checked for that personally. All in all, you
Just the
seem
usual.
to... All in all, the best thing I can use to compare it is a case of some sort of food poisoning, perhaps. Like a very intense case of that, so... All the same, I would still very much like it if you would remain in the Academy City overnight just for observation. Just to be sure.
Well, we're not going to be going anywhere until we know that a monster isn't going to emerge to burn the place down.
Well. Alright. There should be some free rooms in one of the residential wards. I'll get it arranged so you have a place to rest in privacy. Alistair, Mika, good to see you two again. Welcome back.
Good to see you too.
Once you're... Go ahead and get situated. Athena, think you could show them the way? I think you know where some empty rooms are.
Yeah, I do. The wing where I usually sleep has plenty of open space, so I think I'll just take him there.
That works for me. I'll remain here and start getting Katona ready for whatever it is we need to do. Probably surgery. With any luck, nothing will go bad, and don't worry, we'll have plenty of mages on hand to contain whatever comes out, if anything. We'll do whatever we have to do.
Just come get us if you do end up needing us.
Will do. Although then again, if whatever this thing is lashes out too much, odds are you'll hear about it long before we could get to you, considering how things are going.
If it's a shadow of any particular magnitude, we might sense it.
You might sense it, it might blow a hole in a wall, who knows. It already left dents, just from being poked at. We'll be careful, but we're venturing into the unknown here, so sleep lightly.
Will do.
Alright, come on, guys.
And that's Athena.
there's anything we want to do while we're here, now would probably be the time.
We're good on supplies. We stocked up before we left, so.
Athena
Yeah,
turns, and as you're going, Athena sort of spins around, walking backwards.
Well, I mean, pretty much the rest of the group's here too, Elizabeth, Nabat, Sid.
Oh, we might as well check in with them, see how they're holding up.
Yeah, we've also got Fane hanging out.
I did wonder whether she came back with you. Sid clearly stopped in Volia before coming here.
Yeah, just about everyone's together. Figured it would be best to bolster our numbers considering how serious things seem to be getting. And there's only so much 3 Mad Hombres can do on their own. So 2 groups of 5. Probably kick more ass.
That does
Can't
make
argue with that
sense.
logic.
And after Shiva's second crystal, there's only 2 more left. One in Hellfire Pit, and the last one is in the hands of Bahamut himself.
And hopefully we even get to see an old friend again.
Right. Rocket should be waiting for us at Hellfire Pit if our rendezvous plans have, well, gone to plan.
Athena leads you through the halls for a little bit, eventually bringing you into this long corridor that has several others branching off to the sides, after passing through a roundish library with a bunch of white and black mage students moving around within it doing research. They just kind of nod as you're passing. It looks like a student library, just sort of a lounge area for students to read and chat while they're waiting, or off the clock. You're led up a spiral staircase into this long corridor with paths branching out to the left and right every so often. Athena leads you to the very end of that hall, where there's a sort of semicircle opening with these tall windows that provide just a magnificent view of the entire city from where you are. And you're and you're really high up, so you know that there's like 4 or 5 more stories beneath and probably above you two that have the same general sort of layout. And at the end of each of these halls you've passed, there's been a door at the end and plenty of students shuffling about. And Athena takes you down the one on the end to the right. She opens up the door, and it opens up into this sort of common room type area with a bunch of seats and little love chairs and sofas arranged around the middle of the room where a big blue carpet sits. There's another big window against the far wall looking out at a different part of the city. And to the left and right, you see 3 doors on each wall that you presume lead to student quarters. And Alistair, you know that each of these rooms has 2 beds in it.
Take a pick. I call dibs on the best view.
And I call dibs on the room with Alistair in it.
Athena says.
Of course.
Oh, good luck.
Hey, we got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I called the room with the Mika in it.
And I call the room with the knee in it. How convenient.
Very. Let's go grab one.
Yeah, Kyra smirks and says,
I got the room with the wolf.
Athena raises an eyebrow.
What wolf?
Don't ask.
Hey, at least you're not a puppy anymore.
And she claps you on the back as she passes.
He's all grown up.
Athena sort of looks between the two and is like,
Oh, I get it.
and she turns
They
to Alistair
grow
and
up
grabs
so
him by
fast.
and then she turns to Alistair and like grabs him by the scruff of his shirt and holds him up.
Explain everything.
And you just see him have a face saying, "Help me."
No.
Now remember, you two, lights out at 11.
And you see one finger going, just coming out the doorway as it goes in.
And Athena has abducted Alistair.
And he
Again.
was never seen again. Until he was.
Jesus Christ. All right,
What's
so.
explaining? Yeah.
All right, so. You all sort of branch out real quick and find yourselves and find your rooms. And sure enough, each little room that you find has 2 beds in it, usually a smallish window. There's a desk, there's a wardrobe, and a nice blue rug on the floor to keep it comfy. And also like a little chandelier overhead and a few candles scattered about. Some of the
Question,
rooms, some of these rooms
did-
are occupied already, by the way. So but you eventually sort of nail down rooms for yourselves.
Alright, so when me and Mika find a room for themselves, the beds, are they nailed to the ground? I don't think, are they movable?
They are movable.
Need does a quick rearrange. Make a double bed.
Okay. That is...
Yeah. Perfect.
Like, the rest of you, as soon as that door closes, you hear from the inside... As Nee's pushing the bed into line. And Mika is cringing the whole time as she looks down at the floor and is like,
That's scratched.
What is that
That was
unholy
gonna-
racket?
I'll put it back when we go.
Better not go bump in the night. I'll never live that down. Look, I still have people in this. I still have people in this damn school who know me. All right. And I don't want them picking on me about that.
Creep, 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 creep.
Shut up!
Well, if anyone picks on you, they have to answer to me, and probably your book as well. I think that's more terrifying, but me as well. Yes.
Probably.
Meanwhile, with Kyra and Thanatos, Kyra kind of looks around the room as she pokes her head in.
Kind of cramped, didn't it? Not a lot of headspace.
It's like a 10-foot tall room, by the way.
I don't know. Never been to a school.
I mean, we had dorms during Dragoon training, but I usually slept on the roof.
Yeah, I can see you doing that.
Hey, I like my open sky, alright? I don't really like enclosed spaces very much.
I'd say knowing you, you'd probably just get a little jumpy.
I mean, I'm not claustrophobic or any... Fuck you, I just got it.
She sort of smacks you upside the head.
But as I was saying, I'm not claustrophobic or anything, just... Well, I just like my aerial freedom, you know? I learned all these skills on how to jump good. I like to be able to do it whenever.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly bigger than the room I grew up with.
I mean, you grew up in Kurzatan, so...
Yeah.
You know, I can't help but wonder if that shit show's gonna become something worthwhile after the changes you guys made there. Maybe.
Don't know. Don't care.
You know, when I was going around with Elizabeth, we actually stopped in there.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it was on Elizabeth's list. She had this big list of people we were supposed to go talk to get their allegiance and help and everything that's going on now.
That was the other's idea, not mine.
Well. Near as I can tell, that Kellyan guy agreed to be an informant for everyone else, sending his goons out to gather information on demonic movements and feed it to higher powers so that they could work on finding solutions faster.
Joy. Our informants are all criminals.
I mean, better criminals than demons. At least one of those will sit still in a court of law.
Law.
Yeah, no, it kind of makes no sense sometimes, too. Eh, better than the alternative.
I guess.
Hey, quit pouting.
Kinda can't help it when Kurzdan's brought up.
A second passes before she gets up, marches over to you, and just kind of lightly, playfully flicks you on the nose.
What was that for?
Smile.
Smile.
She flicks you again.
Ow!
Smile at me, broody boy.
I'm a dark man. I'm contractually obligated to not smile.
She flicks you again.
This reminds me of a more playful Game of Thrones moment when the little prick was getting smacked.
He
Tell my
goes
mummy, go on, do it.
and he goes and flicks her on the nose.
She just kind of grins at you.
Good. Now do it with a smile.
He gives a little grin and just does it again.
Ah, much better. The puppy pouts. The wolf grins.
This kind of knocks the back of a couple of her fingers against your chest plate and saunters by.
Especially when they have their prey in their sights.
Giggity.
God damn it, Tom.
This is payback for all the times I've done it to them.
Honestly, I'm just doing it because it's fun in general. I just like it, like that kind of flirting is just fun to role play.
And then Alistair and Athena.
Alistair and Athena, yes. So,
He just says he's been called away.
fuck.
Oh shit.
Son of a slut.
Fuck.
That's unfortunate. Well, we can safely assume that the bulk of what's happening is just... oh, he's typing a message. One moment. I suppose we can wait for him a bit. About how long have we been going?
Oh, we started about 8:30, so 9:30, 10:30, nearly 3 hours.
Nice. According to the current thing, we've been going with this particular recording for about 1 hour and 51 minutes, while the initial recording before you had to split it went for about 40 minutes and 35 seconds. So, well, about 2.5 hours at present.
2.5, getting close to 3 hours.
Yep. All right.
Why were you thinking that's a good stopping point?
I was just curious because I can't look at that number and have a reliable estimate on how far we've come this session. I know where I want to end it, so I kind of just want to manage my time a little bit so we can get there, ideally without breaching 4 hours, because 4 hours is a bit much.
I'm back.
That's
Sorry for that, what I missed.
There we go.
You didn't miss a whole lot. I was just juggling and trying to figure out how long we'd been going.
Alright, so my mother called me away for one moment.
It's okay. So now we're coming over to you and Athena. As Athena just plops you off in a chair in front of the desk, grabs a different little stool, pulls it up, sits across from you, plunks her chin into her hands and says,
Okay, so, the broody guy and the dragoon. What's going on there?
Well, before I even start with that, I was expecting a little bit of nostalgia of the old days. Now I just feel like I'm being deteriorated, but fair enough.
You say that like that's not a part of the old days.
I suppose a couple of times you did whenever.
I mean, do you remember that time
interesting
you talked to...
happens.
I mean, do you remember that time you had, a single 5-sentence conversation with Tracy outside of combat class?
That was one time, and
Yes,
you swear to keep that a secret.
Yes, I know. And then I immediately pulled you aside and interrogated you about it for 5 hours. Well, no, not 5 hours, but you get the idea.
It was 6. But anyway.
6 minutes, maybe. But anyways, you were saying?
Yes. Well, I suppose our edgy friend has now been hitched. Although he's still the broody type and he doesn't know how to handle the situation.
Wait, hitched?
Athena raises an eyebrow.
And I just jumped the gun.
I feel like you may have jumped a bit more than the Magitech rifle. I think you jumped the shark and the dragon, too. I mean, I believe me and Mika being engaged. Has that happened yet, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I figured that would happen eventually, but Thanatos?
I know. I still find it a bit hard to believe myself, but hey, wonders of the world.
Is Alistair
Behold.
just deliberately lying here, or have you legit forgotten that Thanatos is not engaged?
Well, either that or he's just making it a bit more.
They have an agreement to
He's-
start dating when this is done, is what they have.
He's shit talking to make confusion, and for her to just jump the gun and say, "Hey, congratulations!"
All the
Okay.
years of Tackle's revenge. And all the years of Thanatos Shenanigans revenge in one.
Two birds with one monologue.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness!
So Athena just sort of nods her head along.
Huh, shit. Things have been moving along fast while I wasn't looking.
Indeed.
Who's going to be
However-
more pissed off when the truth comes out? Thanatos or Athena that she's been bamboozled?
Kyra's just gonna find it hilarious, so.
So, like, how
Anyway.
did that even happen with, like... Wait, hold on a minute.
She leans forward a bit.
So, me and Mika are engaged.
Yes.
Kyra and Thanatos are engaged.
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat? What about you?
Me.
Yeah, you.
Well, no. But I have many things to do as a paladin. Especially now I've teamed up with them. So, I never really got time. Nor the process.
Hmm.
No, surely not. It's still preposterous.
She's just making the biggest squinty-eyed look of scrutiny at you. Lips pursed and everything.
Okay. The truth, then.
What, you were lying?
A bit.
Holy shit, it's a miracle. The Boy Scout has learned to lie convincingly.
I guess it's years of experience.
So people aren't engaged then?
Oh, no. Me and Mika, somewhat, but they're gonna get the whole big, happy ceremony stuff later, but she has did something very touching for her upon the little ring.
And then Thanatos and Kyra?
Oh, there's definitely something forming there, but they're not actually gonna do it until, the world is saved or the ancient evil is either destroyed or imprisoned. Whatever happens, really, with that. Hopefully gone for good would be the best option for evil.
Eh,
As she just kind of leans forward and whispers conspiratorially to you.
look, a lot of the time I live vicariously through the love lives of other people. It's so much fun to gossip about it, so you keep me in the loop, you hear me?
I keep you noted.
Thank you.
And she
Which,
pats,
at this
then she
point-
pats you on the head and leans back into her chair.
Ugh. I'm surprised you won't get one of those books for me, so then we'd be communicating 24/7.
I probably would have gotten one of those, but one, you kind of need the time age to make one, and two, I'm never fucking here. In case you haven't noticed, Kelgor likes to drag me everywhere, which is a lot of fun, but doesn't leave me room to get telepathy books.
That's true. Bit like me, I'm not really in one place for too long. I'm always going about.
All over the
Either off
continent at
doing
this
some-
point.
Yep, pretty much.
Well then,
But-
is there anything else any of you wish to do in this particular area?
I think we're good.
Okay. And in that case, eventually, Athena's going to sort of poke her head back out and check in on everyone and ask,
So do we want to go check in on the others, or what?
Yeah, I think we were going to do that one.
Yeah, they're down at that, as I recall, most of them are staying in that place with the Mughal Mariachi band.
Mughal Mariachi Band.
yeah, remember
last
last time you guys were here, remember the inn you stayed at had a Mughal band that played that you occasionally got into arguments with? Because Venetos are just casually racist against everything, so...
Particularly Mughals. Kupo?
Yeah, let's let them take a ride on the Little Wing.
Anyway.
If I
Let's
may
just-
say, I don't care, the fact I skimmed over one thing I had in mind.
Oh, yeah, what was it?
Him just having a tough time with, a sense someone had taught him soul magic is the only thing closer to those sorts of feelings. But even he still thinks that, age differences plus certain duties, it won't work.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
she's several centuries older and will probably most certainly outlive you.
Yes, I could imagine that now. I hope you both live long, prosperous lives. She outlived me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Quite. I'm just out of curiosity, what, in terms of your idea of the lore of this particular world, what is their lifespan anyway?
They're definitely the longest-lived race on this continent. The most okay. The Numo are the longest-lived. The Viera are a second to them. How old exactly did Vis say she was when you guys crossed paths with her?
200, I think.
Yeah. So I'd say that the Viera can maybe make it to about 400, maybe 450.
And
Yeah.
what about Numo?
I mean, the Numo aren't even considered adults until they hit 100, so... They are a venerable bunch. There's a reason one of them was best friends with a dragon.
So are we saying that we can get a 60-year-old Numa version of Baby Yoda?
Not me.
I mean, culturally, they're not considered adults until 100, but like, their physical development has them being more like adults at like 20 or 30. So.
Anyway, are we going to get on with this? Because time is getting on.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Athena leads you all back down into the streets of the Academy City, and it's a refreshing breath of fresh mountain air as you come back into these familiar streets that you haven't stood in, most of you, in so long. Back when things were a lot less complicated and a lot less imminently apocalyptic. It's a nice feeling to just be back among normal civilization that seems to be chugging along as it ever did. Welcome reprieve. Excuse me. And before long, you find yourselves coming up to the all too familiar visage of that bar, that inn that you had stayed in during your original arrival. Do not remember what it's called if I named it anything, so we'll not bother with that. But as you recall, but just like before, there's you can hear the music of the Mughal band playing long before you step inside. It's a kind of low down, kind of more soothing, almost seductive sounding kind of jazzy piece as they're playing. As you step in, and you look around for a second, and it only takes you all a moment to spot Fane and Sid sitting at a table, just kind of chatting with one another. You don't see any sign of Nabat or Elizabeth at the moment, though.
So Sid and Fane, did you say?
Yeah, Sid and Fane. They're chatting at a table with like drinks in their hands.
Ahem.
Oh, hey. Been a hot minute. Fane turns
Yes.
back Fane turns back to the rest of you and gives a smile and a little nod to Thanatos.
Hey, been a while.
Okay.
So I hear you found us a glacier.
Well, no, actually, by the time we
It was
arrived,
the adventure group.
yeah, by the time we
Yes.
arrived, they were already looking, so, and by the time we were getting ready to go join the search, they showed back up and pretty much did our whole job for us. So we've mostly just been idling here doing, well, I got back to that research I was doing when I first came here with that amber shard that they lent me. Remember, when we first met?
I do, vaguely.
Yeah,
Yes.
they still have that hanging out in storage. So, given everything that's been happening lately, they let me and Fane start tinkering with it to try and figure out what makes this stupid stuff tick. Since it's getting so much more active, we need better defenses.
We successfully retrieved the first of the ice crystals, destroyed the last of the fiends in the process. Got them now. He was a demented one. We spent a week in Pate recovering, and then it was a 3-week journey with a little wing to get here.
That would explain why it took you so long.
That's Fane.
We had to go from the very bottom of the continent to the very top. It wasn't a small trip.
Yeah, I know, I gotcha. Still.
And in Albany, just decided to get a little holy there at the end.
That's not funny. Still not funny.
I'm gonna smack Thanatos.
Bonk!
Yes, that's the reason for the recovery.
So what's the plan then?
Well, we were planning on heading out for the glacier as soon as since it's been still for so long, but there's a problem up at the academy. I'm sure you've heard.
About that, one of the members of the expedition who fell ill?
Seems she's picked up an unwelcome passenger, and the demon inside of her, using her as an incubator.
Oh. Ah, shit, that doesn't sound good.
Because it's
Yeah,
not.
So we're sticking around to deal with that if the arch-mages require our assistance before we go to the crystal.
Alright.
At this point, that Sid kind of leans forward a bit and says, "You know, you guys don't look too great yourselves. You all right?"
Well, when Alice discovered the creature with that soul magic that V's taught him, it didn't like it. It released a pulse of amber, but we're alright just a bit. Queasy.
Huh.
It's a heck of a pulse, though. I mean, my soul is part amber. Thanatos absorbs the stuff most of the time, and it still affected us.
Oof.
So where's Nabat and Elizabeth?
Nabat's taking her shift on looking at the Amber Shard right now. She's up in her room. As for Elizabeth, no idea. She just kind of wanders off sometimes.
She's got a lot on her mind. Pretty much all the time.
I imagine she's getting quite restless staying here.
Yeah, no kidding. More often than not, I think she throws herself into the training regimens with the other, training mages. Specifically the paladins. Keeping her skills brushed up. I've seen more than a few bruises that weren't there before since she started doing that.
What's he going to do now?
I suppose that just kind of depends on what you need us to do next. We've been waiting here for you to show up and have just been trying to fill the time on our own, but so far, ever since we got involved in all this, you've kind of been giving us the directions. Since you're the ones with the crystals, you're the ones who know where they are.
Well, the last two are in places you definitely don't need to be. One's in the Hellfire Pit with Ifrit himself, and the other's in the Tower of Creation with Bahamut.
And no airship has ever managed to approach the Tower of Creation. And anything that's flown past the Hellfire Pit into the Ember Eternal has never come back.
We have our ways.
If it's all the same,
You do, I don't.
If it's all the same, it might be best for you to stick around at least until the current situation up at the academy is resolved. But once it is and we head towards the crystal, if you could, well, we can't expect you to go in anywhere too close to the Hellfire Pit since it's very airship unfriendly. We have one of the crystals of Ifrit already waiting for us there with a courier of sorts. Plus, if you could, in that general area, perhaps do a search for Rocket. As any time now, we're meant to be rendezvousing with her around the Hellfire Pit.
Huh.
And given that we haven't seen her in a while and she might have Odin in tow, it might be good to get that down.
Well, that entire region is pretty big. Finding her normal is gonna be pretty much impossible.
Well, like I said, if
Fane
everything has
pipes
gone-
up.
We can talk to Nabat. She worked with the people who made Rocket. She was involved in the project. Maybe she can come up with something to track Rocket down.
That's... I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Do we have another choice?
Not really, no.
Like I said, she should be in the vicinity of the Hellfire Pit by now. Everything has gone to plan.
Or at least somewhere between there and the plains of Odin.
Kyra
Since
sort of,
we were going to-
let's see, Mika pipes up at this point.
We don't really know where she is, and we have no way of knowing. All we know for sure is that once she met up with Odin, she was supposed to give him some message from Ramu and that they team up to find a bunch of Phoenix's feathers, but we don't know where any of those are hidden. So who knows, they might be near the Hellfire Pit. They could be halfway across the planet for all we know. They could be on other continents. We have no idea.
Either way, if she has already made it to the Hellfire Pit, or will by the time you guys get there, if she keeps to the plan, she should wait until our arrival. If we arrive first, we're gonna have to be the ones trying to wait for as long as we can for her. I don't think we can proceed without her.
Well, Fane and
Not
I will
past
talk.
there.
Fane and I can talk to Nabat, see if we can get a tracker thrown together so we can track her down.
That would be helpful.
Alright.
Both because there's a high chance she is the bearer of the fire crystals, and, well, there's still Diabolos's resurrection ability to deal with. That's what she was out to counteract.
If he can keep bringing himself back whenever, then yeah, that pretty much makes all of our efforts wasted unless we can stop him.
And unless Rocket succeeded, our efforts are for naught.
Well,
The
Never
fate
thought-
of the world in the claws of a cybernetic chocobo.
who'd have thought? Guess something good came out of Deviacorp's research after all.
And yet only because she ran away.
Yeah, I'm sure Nabat would love to hear that.
Well, good thing she's not here right now. Another argument I don't want to repeat.
She's misguided on a lot of points, but she is brilliant.
So after all this is over, is she gonna go back in the cell?
I doubt it. Part of the agreement for helping us is that she gets a pardon when this is all over. And as far as I'm concerned, she'll have earned it. She worked for really bad people and helped really bad things, but she's not a bad person herself. If we get through this, the way I see it, she'll have earned that pardon. I'm not one to hold a grudge.
I just hope that is lessons well learned from all this. Though I suspect that she might. Like you said, she is brilliant, and she saw what happened to Deviacorp for their hubris.
Well.
Destroyed themselves and became the very things they swore to destroy, as these tend to go in such stories.
Yeah. No kidding.
Fane goes ahead and stands up.
I'm gonna go ahead and go get Elizabeth. Just let her know what the idea is. Sid, you good with Nabat?
Yeah, I'm good on going to get her. We'll probably still be in the city for another few days, so if you need us, you know where to get us.
Well, let's hope you get out of here soon, because never mind Elizabeth being restless, Biggs and Wedge have probably turned the Stargaze inside out by now, haven't they?
Actually, no. They've pretty much had shore leave the entire time we've been here, and I mean, they love the Stargazer to bits, and they do a lot of good work on that thing, but they don't get nearly enough time off, so this has been a pretty good vacation for them.
What do Biggs and Wedge look like on shore leave? I dread to think.
Well, they're out of uniform, so... You know, come to think of it, I should probably get them a vacation to Costa del Sol at some point. Let them have a run at the beach.
I think we could all use a vacation there after all this shit.
Yeah, after all this shit, indeed. At this point, Sid stands up and sort of dusts himself off a bit. All right, we should probably get a move on. It's good to see you all keeping on in one piece. Keep at it.
Right. We need to return to our rest anyway. Come morning, we'll find out whether the operation was successful to remove the amber entity.
All right. Take care.
And with that, Sid and Fane sort of split off to go do their own thing. Athena spins back to the rest of you.
All right. So, back to the rooms or what?
There's little else we can do. Besides, we have doctor's orders, and I personally know how persistent they can get. Briefly nudges Mika.
Mm-hmm.
Could use some rest.
Yeah, let's head back.
So if everyone is in agreement,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
and Athena leads you all back to the Central University and back up to the region of the dormitories where she sort of led you all to before. You spend a little bit of time getting yourselves a little bit of something to eat, nothing particularly extravagant, and before long you're getting yourselves nestled away in your rooms. If there are any last conversations you want to have before we close out the session, now would be the time.
I don't think so.
I think we're good.
All right.
Yep.
In that case, as you're all bunking down for the night and drifting off to sleep, you find yourselves dreaming.
Swell.
That was the
Okay.
wrong button. There we go. It's formless at first. You're not sure really what you're seeing. It's fuzzy colors and blobs passing in front of your vision and distant muffled sounds you can't really make out. It carries on, with phantom sensations brushing against the edges of your senses. The faintest suggestion of a sound, the inclination of touch, the memory of taste, just fleeting things. And none of them good. And as the dream carries on, things start to come into focus, and you see yourselves in this seemingly endless void. Everywhere you look, it's just red and black clouds rising slowly up around you as if you're falling in slow motion. And through that haze, you hear this low, ominous, hungry growl. Alistair, you recognize it as the one you heard when you probed into Katona's little invader. As the darkened, bloody clouds continue to rise up around you, you start to feel sticky sensations across your body. And you just instinctively look and you see just blood starting to form and encrust itself onto you from below, slowly wrapping around your bodies. It's cold and dry, but it begins to burn and hurt, dissolving through whatever it is you're wearing in your sleep through that persisted into this dream, starting to burn and sink and melt into your flesh, and you start hearing the growling grow louder and louder in your ears, almost as if it's laughing at you. And through it all, you can hear this horrible like the stretching and peeling of flesh from muscle, the splitting of bone, the shattering of stone, the rattling of chains, into this mindless cacophony. And through the haze ahead, you see a pulse of orange light. And then it comes again. And this time there's a silhouette, this towering thing, incomprehensible in scale, with 2 pinpoints of amber light staring at you through the blood and the haze. The glow fades, pulses again, and it's brighter. And this time you can see another silhouette in front of it, floating there, wings flapping at its sides. And the wings are familiar, and so is the body, but they don't match what you're used to. The pulse comes once again, and you see in front of you, looming in front of the silhouette in the distance, Saran, with wings alike to those of Diablo's flapping from his back. He just looks at you for a second with this cold, serious glare.
Do we have any sort of ability to speak or control on the stream? Or are we...
You're just spectating at the moment. For a second, Saran just looks at all of you. His eyes narrow. Clock's ticking. Better wake up now. He lifts his hand and snaps his fingers, and your vision suddenly shatters as you're met with a repeat of the same vision that Alistair had before. And as the vision fades, you all snap awake, and it's dark, shadowy. You know that it's the middle of the night.
Mika.
What?
And then, outside of your rooms, out in the common room, you hear the sound of shattering glass. And
Something's gone wrong with the operation. We need to go now.
a screech you're unfamiliar with, a scream from someone in the common room, and a flash of magic that you can just see the orange glow of under the door. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
So Saran has wings now? He flies now?
I mean, he could fly without him.
Yeah, but he has wings now.
Remember, he is an Eidolon of Diablos, technically, so...
Yeah, it's the first time he's ever spawned any. I feel like he feels like she's been copied a little bit.
Either way, so, with that harrowing little thing, we will pick this up next time. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Until then, keep listening, people. Bye-bye. Oh boy, you all are in for a treat.